As we begin this evening, take a slow, deep breath and allow yourself to settle comfortably into the quiet space around you. If you are watching on a screen, the picture will gently fade to darkness after this opening card, leaving only the soft cadence of my voice to guide your thoughts into the restful twilight of the late 18th century. Imagine the world softening around the edges as dusk begins to settle over the rolling hills of the English countryside. The air is cool and still, carrying the crisp scent of fresh water, wild mint, and damp earth from the banks of a winding canal. The water stretched before you is smooth as glass, reflecting the faint indigo hues of the evening sky and the silent silhouettes of ancient, towering oaks standing guard along the grassy path. Here, far removed from the hurry of modern life, the pace of the world slows down to the rhythmic, gentle motion of a journey by water. Along the quiet towpath, a sturdy draft horse walks with an easy, unhurried rhythm, guiding a traditional wooden narrowboat forward. Towpath horses pulling wooden narrowboats along the 1790s Thames, and Severn Canal wore heavy leather boots padded with sheep's wool, keeping their hoof steps muted against the soft riverbank gravel as they moved at a steady 2 miles per hour. The gentle tension in the long hemp towline creates a barely audible rhythmic whisper as it glides over the grass, pulling the heavy timber hull through the glass-like surface without a splash or a struggle. Each step of the horse is measured and calm, establishing a comforting pulse that mirrors the slow heartbeat of the evening. The narrowboat glides so fluidly across the dark water that it feels almost weightless, drifting under the early evening stars with a quiet grace that hushes every lingering thought. The gentle lap of small ripples against the boat's oak sides creates a delicate, repeating lullaby that washes over you with effortless calm. A light breeze carries the faint, nostalgic aroma of wood smoke from a distant cottage chimney, drifting across open meadows of clover before dissolving into the gathering evening mist that rests upon the quiet stream. On board the narrowboat, the low creak of the wooden tiller and the soft murmur of the passing stream offer a gentle reassurance that all is well and settled. Every element of this historic waterway works in harmony to soothe the mind, inviting a deep, restorative sense of stillness to settle peacefully into your thoughts. Up ahead, the weathered stone walls of an ancient canal lock stand silently in the dimming light, waiting patiently to receive the craft into its calm embrace. There is no rush on this journey, only the gradual, comforting progression from one peaceful stretch of quiet water to the next. As the vessel drifts slowly forward toward the entrance of the stone chamber, you can let go of all the worries of the day behind you completely, trusting the gentle movement of the vessel to carry you safely through the calm night. Allow your breathing to become slow, even, and natural, sinking comfortably into the deep warmth of rest as the quiet world floating around you fades into gentle darkness. The late afternoon light filters softly through the canopy of leaves, casting long, golden ribbons across the quiet surface of the canal. The narrowboat moves forward with a slow, hypnotic grace, barely stirring the calm water that stretches ahead like a long mirror laid through the countryside. Along the towpath, high grasses sway in the faint evening breeze, while dragonflies drift effortlessly above the water's edge. Everything here moves to a peaceful, unhurried cadence, inviting a deep sense of stillness to settle over the journey. As the channel gradually narrows toward the upcoming lock, the water remains remarkably calm, undisturbed by the passage of time or the gentle progression of the boat. Along 1770s, canal reaches approaching locks. Engineers planted dense beds of osier willow, whose submerged root networks bound the underwater mud into a smooth, natural wall that prevented bank erosion and kept the surface water mirror flat. These flexible saplings, with their narrow, silver-green leaves, created living barriers that anchored the earth below the waterline. Intricate weave of their roots held the soil tight against the steady pull of passing water, preserving the pristine clarity of the stream and guarding the soft earth from crumbling away. The resulting stillness turns the canal into a tranquil corridor, where every reflection, the towering oaks, the drifting clouds, and the soft sky remains unbroken and clear. Continuing down this shaded waterway, the air carries the cool, earthy scent of river moss, damp clay, and wild mint growing near the stone embankment. The boatman stands quietly at the stern, his hands relaxed upon the wooden tiller, guiding the vessel with minor, almost imperceptible adjustments. Up ahead, the moss-covered masonry of the lock chamber rises gently from the water, its ancient stones worn smooth by decades of quiet service. There is no rush in this approach, only the slow, natural momentum of timber moving through still water. On 1790s narrowboats traversing the Oxford Canal, boatmen hand-knitted thick, pillowy bow fenders out of coarse coconut coir fiber, creating soft cushions that absorbed the gentle touch of stone lock walls into a silent glide. These handcrafted fenders, laboriously woven with intricate knots during long, peaceful evenings along the bank, served as protective bumpers against the solid masonry. When the bow of the boat finally meets the entrance of the lock, the fibrous coir yields with a quiet, cushioned softness, eliminating any harsh clatter or jarring impact. The encounter between wood, rope, and stone is transformed into a seamless, gentle caress, allowing the boat to slide into the chamber as softly as a leaf landing upon a calm pond. Within the cool shade of the lock walls, the world grows even quieter. The towering stonework dampens the distant sounds of the countryside, enveloping the vessel in a gentle hush. Small droplets of water trickle down the weathered mortar, creating a faint, rhythmic melody that hums softly against the quiet atmosphere. Here, held securely between the bank and the timber gates, the narrowboat rests in complete equilibrium, waiting patiently for the water levels to shift. Every detail of the vessel and its surroundings reflects a deep harmony between human craft and the natural world, crafted with care to ensure ensure every mile of the journey unfolds in peaceful, soothing silence. Late afternoon light filters softly through the canopy of ancient weeping willows lining the peaceful banks, casting long, calm shadows across the quiet surface of the canal. Ahead, the narrow barge glides with effortless grace through the gentle waters, its dark wooden hull creating barely a ripple against the mirror-like reflections of sky and leaves. On the grassy towpath, a stout draft horse moves with a steady, tranquil rhythm, its slow hooves sinking softly into the earth as it pulls the vessel along the channel. The long hemp rope sways gently in the still air, a calm chord connecting the quiet strength of the horse to the steady movement of the boat. As the waterway begins to curve gently toward the approach of a lock, the soft murmur of water flowing over distant timber gates creates a soothing melody, inviting the senses to slow down and rest in the tranquil atmosphere of the countryside. The air is cool and fragrant, with the scents of damp earth, meadowsweet, and wild mint floating up from the water's edge, bringing a profound sense of stillness to all who travel this timeless route. Approaching the stone wing walls of the lock chamber, the canal narrows slightly, guiding the boat toward its peaceful resting place within the masonry walls. Where the towpath curves inward, the tension of the rope naturally draws it toward the stone corner of the lock entrance. Here, one observes a piece of subtle and elegant engineering designed specifically to preserve both the gear and the gentle silence of the canal. At lock approaches along the Kennet and Avon Canal in the 1790s, engineer John Rennie set vertical rollers of polished Bath limestone into the masonry, allowing hemp tow lines to spin smoothly past without scraping or sound. The soft, warm-hued oolitic limestone, quarried from nearby hills, had been turned into smooth cylinders that yielded effortlessly to the passing line. As the coarse hemp rope brushed against the wall, the stone rollers rotated in silent harmony with the movement of the boat, converting what might have been harsh friction into a fluid, gliding motion. This thoughtful detail ensured that no jarring noise disturbed the calm of the surrounding valley, allowing the barge to guide itself smoothly into the narrow mouth of the lock without wear to the rope or damage to the stonework. As the vessel completes its smooth alignment with the lock entrance, the tow line slacks slightly, laying a calm arc across the surface of the water before resting gently on the damp grass of the bank. The barge master leans lazily against the polished wooden tiller, making only the slightest correction to keep the bow pointed true into the stone chamber. The quiet hush of the evening deepens as the horse comes to a gentle standstill, lowering its head to graze peacefully among the clover by the path. All around, the sounds of the natural world blend seamlessly with the soft mechanics of the canal. The quiet dripping of water from mossy stones, the low whisper of breeze through the reeds, and the gradual settling of the boat into the calm waters between the ancient lock walls. Here, time seems to pause, held in a moment of quiet grace, where every element of stone, wood, and water works in quiet accord to create an atmosphere of restful, enduring peace. The evening air carries a cool, earthy quiet across the valley, where the narrow canal traces the natural contours of the hillside like a dark ribbon of mirrored sky. On nights such as these, the motion of the wooden vessel is barely perceptible, a gentle, effortless gliding over still water that reflects the soft amber glow of a single cabin lamp and the distant, twinkling constellations above. Along the grassy towpath, the heavy hooves of the draft horse fall in a slow, rhythmic cadence against the compacted earth, pulling with steady, patient strength through the calm night air. The thick tow line sways lazily through the stillness, rising and falling in harmonious rhythm with each unhurried step of the horse and each subtle shift of the tiller. Down here in the hollow, framed by ancient oak trees and quiet pastures, the world moves at the deliberate pace of walking steps and drifting currents, allowing the mind to untangle from the busyness of the day and settle into the soothing, predictable cadence of the voyage. As the vessel drifts toward the threshold of another lock chamber, the masonry of the entrance comes into view, carved from solid blocks of native sandstone that have stood guard over the canal since the closing years of the 18th century. Here, where the channel narrows to align the craft with the timber gates, the tension of heavy ropes against the cornerstones would normally create a harsh, grinding sound that echoes through the stillness of the night. However, along the 1796 Monmouth Canal, stonemasons inset curved strips of polished brass into the masonry quoins at lock entrances, letting heavy hemp tow lines slide past with a soft, warm whisper rather than scraping against rough stone. Over decades of constant use, these brass rubbing strips took on a deep, lustrous patina, shaped smooth by thousands of passing journeys and remaining cool to the touch beneath the evening dew. The quiet rustle of the thick rope gliding over metal is a testament to the thoughtful care of early canal engineers, who considered not only the mechanical utility of their works, but also the subtle acoustic harmony between raw material, human labor, and the surrounding countryside. Stepping into the sheltered shadow of the lock walls, the boat slows to complete rest, while the lock keeper gently eases open the sluice paddles with a steady, familiar turn of his iron windlass. Water begins to flow with a deep, muffled murmur, swelling beneath the wooden hull to lift the boat upward toward the next peaceful reach of the navigation. The sound is like a slow, rhythmic breath, a soft, cascading murmur of water settling into place as the chamber fills to meet the upper level without haste. Inside the cozy cabin, the warm glow of the oil lamp casts soft, dancing shadows across oak beams, while outside, the night sky stretches wide and clear above the high stone masonry. With the level reached and the upper gates swinging smoothly open upon their heavy iron pivots, the horse steps forward once more, drawing the vessel out onto the glassy surface of the open canal, where the path ahead stretches calm, quiet, and endlessly serene. late afternoon sun casts a long, golden shimmer across the still ribbon of the 1790s navigation. Along the grassy bank, the towpath curves gently around a bend of willow and wild parsley, where the quiet rhythm of narrow water travel feels timeless and unhurried. The heavy timber craft glides effortlessly forward, slicing through reflections of clouds with scarcely a murmur against its wooden hull. All around, the countryside rests in deep stillness, broken only by the soft thud of hooves on the dirt path and the gentle murmur of water passing under the rudder. The air carries the damp, fresh fragrance of summer leaves and moist earth as the canal narrows toward the approach of another stone lock structure standing quietly in the distance. The masonry walls, weathered by season after season of passing freight, open their arms to welcome the vessel into the peaceful chamber ahead. As the heavy bow approaches the stone wing walls at lock entrances along 1790s British waterways, boatmen brought 30-ton timber barges to a complete stop by looping a soft braided hemp line around an oak snubbing post, letting gentle wood-on-rope friction absorb the motion with a soothing creak. The rope yields slightly under tension, dampening every trace of momentum without the slightest jolt or strain. It is a slow, graceful dance between natural fibers and aged wood, honed by decades of daily craft along these historic industrial arteries. The soft groan of the rope winding around the smooth oak column echoes gently over the mirror-like surface of the canal, blending naturally with the evening breeze. Standing on the narrow deck, one can feel the massive momentum of the loaded craft dissolve into absolute tranquility, held firmly yet softly in place by simple friction and patient skill. With the barge brought to rest beside the lower gates, an abiding sense of calm settles over the water. Small ripples expand outward from the wooden sides, fading into the dark, reflective margins where reeds bow in silent reverence. The horse pauses on the towpath, lowering its head to graze quietly on the lush grass by the water's edge, its breath warm in the cooling air. Above, the sky fades from amber to soft indigo, while the first evening stars begin to glimmer through distant oaks. The stone walls of the lock chamber rise damp and steady, coated in mosses that hold the faint scent of rain and river mud. Within this quiet harbor between water levels, time seems to stretch out lazily, inviting the mind to drift effortlessly alongside the lingering light. Every element of the canal system moves in harmony with the gentle laws of physics and nature. The heavy timber beams, the iron-bound paddle gear, and the smooth stone masonry all rest together in quiet readiness. As the boatman waits for the lock balance beams to yield, there is no urge to rush or force the passage. The tranquil silence of the rural evening cradles the vessel, wrapping the surrounding fields in a warm lull. Each breath drawn in the fading light brings a deeper release of tension, mirroring the quiet grace of the rope as it holds the heavy vessel motionless against the bank. Here, amidst the gentle sounds of lapping water, the journey continues at the peaceful pace of a bygone era, carrying you smoothly onward into restful slumber. As the soft golden glow of evening fades across the quiet expanse of the countryside, the canal boat glides forward with a peaceful, almost imperceptible motion. Beneath the dark, glassy mirror of the stream, every contour of the stone floor and channel basin reflects a quiet mastery of 18th century engineering, designed to preserve absolute stillness long before any vessel drifted into these tranquil reaches. The underlying elevation of the earth and masonry had been surveyed with deep care and patient devotion to accuracy. In 1794, English engineer William Weston used a telescopic brass Y-level on the Middlesex Canal in Massachusetts to calibrate lock bed elevations within fractions of an inch, ensuring water flowed into the chambers without creating sudden surges or surface turbulence. Because of this extraordinary precision, the incoming water does not rush in with violent, tumbling commotion. Instead, it enters as a smooth, continuous fold of liquid that quietly cradles the wooden hull, allowing the boat to rise or settle so smoothly that one hardly feels the movement at all. The gentle lapping against the timber becomes a steady, soothing rhythm, lulling everything aboard into a state of restful ease as dusk settles over the surrounding fields and forests. Beneath this carefully calibrated grade lies another layer of humble, hidden craftsmanship that keeps the channel serene, secure, and whole. Below the clear water and smooth riverbed stones, the foundation itself rests upon earth that was prepared by hand to withstand the quiet pressure of the stream, without letting a single drop slip away into the porous ground below. In 1761, engineer James Brindley specified that lock beds on the Bridgewater Canal be lined with puddled clay trampled by wool-booted workers into a silky, watertight layer that held calm water for decades. Layer by careful layer, those workers walked the heavy, moist earth in their heavy, soft footwear, blending it with water until it transformed into an impenetrable, supple barrier that preserved the depth of the waterway through dry summer spells and freezing winter frosts alike. This smooth, hand-puddled floor created a silent sanctuary where water could rest undisturbed, maintaining a steady and reliable depth for generations of travelers journeying through the quiet heart of the English countryside. As the boat lingers inside the cool, moss-lined walls of the loch, the atmosphere feels completely timeless and protected from the busy world outside. The heavy wooden balance beams rest silently against their stone quarters, and the soft drip of water from the upper gate creates a rhythmic, musical whisper that echoes gently across the stone chamber. Every detail of this historic waterway, from the fine leveling of its bed to the supple clay lining its floor, was crafted so that motion and stillness could exist in perfect equilibrium. Up on the grassy towpath, a gentle evening breeze rustles through the willow leaves, carrying the faint scent of damp earth and late summer wildflowers across the dark water. as the water within the chamber finishes equalizing with complete, unhurried serenity. The wooden gates part with a soft, satisfying sigh, guiding the vessel forward onto the calm, glassy reflection of the open canal under a canopy of emerging stars. The narrowboat drifts into the hush of another stone chamber, its wooden hull gliding with effortless grace across the glassy surface. Here, surrounded by high, moss-dappled walls, the rush of the open waterway fades into a soothing stillness. The gentle lap of water against dark oak planking echoes softly in the calm air, marking the slow, deliberate pace of 18th century travel. Outside the chamber, evening settles over the valley, painting the towpath in muted tones of amber and indigo. Up above, the leaves rustle in a soft breeze, while below, all remains balanced, quiet, and profoundly still. The boat comes to a rest near the center of the loch, held securely within heavy masonry that has stood unyielding against the currents for generations. To drift here is to feel connected to a deeper cadence, measured by the quiet rise and fall of water trapped between massive oak gates. Beneath this tranquil mirror of water lies a secret of engineering that has anchored the canal through long generations of service. During the construction of the Stroudwater navigation in 1779, engineers laid loch chamber foundations upon thick grillage platforms of native beech timber, submerged in oxygen-free mud, preserving the wood indefinitely to maintain a perfectly level, motionless stone footing. Deep within the dark silt, protected from decay, these heavy beech logs remain untouched by time. They form a subterranean floor of remarkable strength, bearing the immense weight of heavy masonry walls and the water that fills the chamber day after day. It is comforting to think of those early builders selecting timbers from local woodlands, shaping them with care, and sinking them beneath the wetland silt where they would lie forever preserved. Unseen by travelers above, this hidden framework keeps the structure grounded with steady perfection, allowing the stone above to remain aligned without the slightest shift. As the water level begins its slow descent, the boat lowers gently into the cooling shade of the loch. The air inside the chamber grows crisp and damp, smelling pleasantly of wet stone and fresh earth. Small droplets trickle down the ashlar walls, creating musical notes that chime soft and clear against the stone. There is no urgency in this process, only a peaceful transition from one level of the waterway to the next. The vessel settles effortlessly into the descending basin, cradled by history and physics working together in quiet harmony. Above the gates, the evening star appears in the deepening sky, casting a silver glimmer across the water. Every beam of wood, from the balance beams above to the hidden grillage beneath the mud, works in silent agreement to ensure a safe, serene passage along these quiet channels. Now, with the chamber fully settled and the lower gates opening into the shadowy canal ahead, a gentle ripple carries the boat forward once more. The movement is so soft, it feels like a dream. a continuation of the peaceful rhythm that governs life along the water. The surrounding countryside lies asleep under a blanket of dusk, with only the soft rustle of reeds breaking the night's calm. Resting upon foundations designed to endure, the canal guides the traveler onwards through the quiet heart of the valley. Each mile unfolds with gentle grace, offering a sanctuary of stillness where thought slows, breath deepens, and the mind finds rest. As the evening light softens across the quiet low country, the canal vessel glides gently into the cool shadow of the brick lock chamber. High, ancient walls rise on either side, damp with evening dew and velvety moss that clings softly to the weathered 18th century masonry. The water within the lock settles into a smooth, mirror-like expanse, barely stirring as the heavy wooden gates close with a low, reassuring thud behind the stern. In this quiet sanctuary, sheltered by ancient coastal pines and weeping willow trees, the noise of the busy day fades into a gentle background hum of crickets and the soft, rhythmic rustle of reeds swaying in the twilight breeze. The air is mild and pleasant, carrying the comforting sense of damp earth, sweet bay leaves, and pine resin. Here, time itself seems to stretch and unspool slowly, matching the unhurried cadence of the water as it begins its gradual, quiet shift in depth, carrying you peacefully into rest. Beneath this calm, dark surface lies a remarkable feat of structural engineering, designed with thoughtful precision to ensure this exact sense of serenity and balance. During the 1793 construction of the Santee Canal in South Carolina, engineer John Christian Senf anchored brick lock beds upon 8-foot pilings of native heart cypress driven into swamp mud, preventing ground movement and keeping the lock water perfectly still during vessel transits. Deep within the soft, saturated soil of the southern wetlands, these stout wooden pilings formed an unwavering, permanent foundation. They ensured that neither the shifting ground nor the subtle subterranean movements of the marsh could disturb the alignment of the heavy brickwork above. The heartwood of the native cypress, dense and naturally impervious to decay beneath the water line, bound the foundation to the earth, creating a cradle of perfect stillness. As a result, as the vessel rests within the chamber, there are no unexpected tremors, vibrations, or jarring shifts, only a seamless, soothing movement as the water level lowers without a sound. This profound stability invites a quiet reflection on the quiet craftsmanship embedded throughout the canal's design. Above the submerged timber pilings, the brick masonry was laid with patient care, line by line, forming smooth walls that absorb the faint echoes of the water. The surrounding forest wraps the canal in a cocoon of solitude, where the night sky slowly emerges above the narrow channel, painted in shades of soft indigo and brushed with delicate star clusters. Floating within this enclosed space, one can feel completely supported by the hidden strength beneath the boat, taking comfort in the knowledge that centuries of human ingenuity were dedicated to making such passage tranquil and secure. The cool night air settles lightly over the deck, encouraging deep, easy breaths that match the slow, steady rhythm of the descending water. As the lower sluice valves open just a crack, the water trickles out with a soft, melodic murmur, sounding very much like a gentle woodland brook wending its way through a quiet forest. The vessel descends so gradually that the motion is felt only as a soothing, rhythmic cradle, bringing a deep feeling of ease and relaxation. Slowly, the forward oak gates swing open, revealing a long, glassy stretch of dark water, reflecting the faint glow of the stars. The boat glides forward with effortless grace, leaving the lock behind and drifting smoothly out into the vast, calm night. As twilight deepens over the quiet countryside, the gentle rhythm of water against wood guides our vessel into the serene embrace of historic canal locks. Here, along the northern English waterways, time seems to slow down, matching the steady cadence of the evening air. The massive stone walls rising on either side stand as silent guardians, crafted with profound care to ensure that every transition between water levels remains undisturbed. During the construction of the Leeds and Liverpool Canal in 1774, masons joined the gritstone lock walls with a hydraulic mortar of burnt limestone and volcanic ash, which cured underwater into a seamless rock face that kept lock chambers perfectly still. The smooth surface of these submerged stones prevents even the slightest turbulence as the water softly rises and falls, surrounding the hull in a quiet cradle of liquid stability. Every joint works in quiet harmony, holding back the immense weight of the earth while keeping the inner pool calm. Soft echoes of water resting against ancient gritstone fade into stillness, creating an atmosphere of safety and restfulness. The air smells faintly of damp earth and cool stone, whispering promises of a long, peaceful night. Journeying farther along the peaceful trade routes of Europe, the design of these liquid steps reveals an equally mesmerizing harmony between human craft and natural forces. Across the sun-warmed landscapes of southern France, the engineering of the waterways takes on a gentle, rounded form designed to welcome traveling boats into an expansive sanctuary of stillness. Throughout the 18th century, along France's Canal du Midi, oval lock chambers built with outward curving sandstone masonry distributed surrounding soil pressure so evenly that entering vessels floated in a wide, calm basin without touching the side walls. As our boat glides gently into one of these elegant chambers, there is no jarring bump or sudden movement, only a soft drift through open water. The golden-hued sandstone curves outward like a quiet embrace, absorbing the subtle forces of the surrounding ground while providing a generous cushion of clear water on every side. Below, the riverbed lies tranquil and settled, reflecting the warm colors of twilight filtering through overhanging trees. The gentle curve encourages the water to move in slow, circular motions, that ease the vessel to rest, allowing everyone on board to breathe deeply and let go of the day. Within these historic sanctuaries, the art of stone and water creates a timeless sense of security, wrapping the traveler in undisturbed quiet as night fully sets in. The slow equalization of water levels feels like a long, soothing exhalation, carrying the vessel downward or upward with effortless grace. Above, the stars begin to flicker against the darkening sky, their pale light dancing upon the glassy surface of the loch basin. Leafy branches overhead rustle softly in the mild night breeze, adding a faint lullaby to the delicate murmur of water trickling through timber gates. Here, nestled securely between ancient stone walls, the heavy world outside feels distant and muted. The steady strength of 18th century craft holds everything in gentle balance, turning each loch into a peaceful haven for sleep. As the final water gate swings open without a sound, the boat moves softly into the open canal ahead, gliding across the still mirror of the night, surrounded by profound silence, warmth, and unending peace. As twilight gently settles over the network of inland waterways, the quiet rhythm of the journey invites a deep and restful calm. The wooden hull glides effortlessly across the mirror-like surface of the canal, where the slow passage of time is measured only by the soft lapping of water against timber and the gentle sway of overhanging branches. Here, far from the hurried world of bustling harbors, the 18th century canal system operates with a quiet, predictable grace. Night brings a soothing stillness to the towing paths, where heavy horses rest after their patient day of labor, and the cool evening air carries the crisp scent of fresh water, damp pine, and mossy stone. Navigating these waterways is an exercise in surrender to gravity and gentle water pressure, unfolding without rush or agitation. Each step forward is guided by lock keepers who move with practiced ease under the faint glow of oil lamps. As the boat approaches another lock, the surrounding silence deepens, wrapping the traveler in a sanctuary of quiet solitude. The art of canal construction reached remarkable heights during this era, turning natural stone into peaceful conduits for travel. In the 1790s, along Sweden's Trollhätte Canal, engineers Daniel Thunberg and Samuel Solberg blasted lock chambers directly out of granite bedrock, forming deep, solid stone basins, whose unyielding walls kept loch water completely motionless as boats descended. Within these cavernous granite holds, the atmosphere is profoundly peaceful and sheltered from outside winds. The massive stone walls, carved straight into the living heart of the earth, display the soft shimmer of moisture and dark mineral veins under the dim twilight. As the sluice gates slowly open beneath the surface, the water level begins its gradual drop, carrying the boat downward with imperceptible smoothness. There are no turbulent eddies within these solid walls, only the slow, tranquil lowering of the vessel deeper into the cool embrace of the rock. The bedrock absorbs every whisper of movement, holding the water so still that reflections of passing clouds and lantern light remain unbroken upon the surface. Resting inside such a basin brings a feeling of complete safety, enveloped by centuries of immovable stone while drifting downward. Descending through the granite chamber, the air cools pleasantly, rich with the refreshing earthiness of damp stone and clear river water. The slow descent feels like a gentle transition into sleep, a quiet release of height and weight as the water slips away without sound. Up above, the upper rim of the loch framing the evening sky seems to rise slowly, leaving the boat cradled safely within the quiet depth of the bedrock. Soft echoes of water trickling through tiny crevices provide a soothing lullaby, a natural cadence that lulls the mind into peaceful stillness. Every element of the mechanism works in silent harmony, honoring the calm of the surrounding night. When the lower gates reach equal pressure, they part with a soft creak of oak timber, opening up to reveal the next tranquil reach of the waterway ahead. The boat glides gently across the threshold into open water, moving forward with barely a ripple. Suspended in the quiet embrace of the night, as the canal stretches smoothly toward the horizon under a canopy of stars. As twilight begins to drape a soft, silvery blanket across the quiet Swedish waterways, the gentle motion of the timber vessel slows to a peaceful, steady glide. Here, surrounded by vast stands of tall, whisper-soft pines and shimmering white birch trees, the water seems almost glass-like, reflecting the fading amber light of late evening. The air carries the faint, comforting fragrance of damp earth, forest resin, and cool river moss, inviting a deep, restful calm into the body and mind. The boat drifts toward a narrow stone and timber passageway, where the historical canal gently lowers traveling craft from one quiet level to the next. The surrounding Scandinavian woodland is silent save for the soft lap of ripples against the wooden hull and the occasional rustle of pine needles in a mild evening breeze. The crew moves with effortless, quiet familiarity, securing the heavy hemp lines around smooth wooden mooring posts without making a sound. Everything about this serene place speaks of careful craftsmanship and deep harmony with the natural landscape, designed long ago to allow quiet and gentle passage through the vast forest with minimal disruption to the tranquil surroundings. Stepping inside the quiet embrace of the loch chamber, one notices the remarkably steady and serene quality of the water as it begins its smooth, imperceptible rise. Along Sweden's Strömsholm Canal, completed in 1795, engineer Johan Alfström lined the timber walls of 26 loch chambers with thick sheets of harvested birch bark beneath pine cladding, creating an organic, watertight seal that kept rising chamber water motionless and leak-free. Beneath the sturdy outer pine boards lies this hidden layer of natural bark, harvested carefully from surrounding birch groves to protect the inner chamber walls from water seepage, while keeping the interior environment wonderfully quiet and still. The birch bark, naturally rich in protective oils, acts as a soft, resilient barrier, preventing even the smallest trickle of water from escaping through the joints of the wooden structure over decades of continuous use. As the water fills the chamber from below, there are no turbulent rushes or harsh splashes, only a slow, gentle lifting that carries the vessel upward as smoothly as a breathing chest in quiet slumber. The dark, weathered wood of the walls absorbs the soft, rhythmic echoes of the water, wrapping the boat in a soothing cocoon of muffled sound. With the water level now perfectly equalized, the heavy wooden gates swing open with a slow, low creak, clearing a wide, peaceful path out into the open waters of the forest channel ahead. The vessel glides outward with effortless grace, leaving the quiet timber lock behind in the gathering dusk. Bright stars begin to emerge one by one above the dark tree line, casting delicate silver pinpricks across the still, mirrored surface of the canal. The soft murmur of the stream ahead promises an uninterrupted night of peaceful drifting, cradled by the ancient Swedish forest and the enduring skill of the engineers who built these quiet waterways. As night deepens under the starry sky, the steady, rhythmic cadence of the journey continues without hurry, each lock serving as a tranquil sanctuary along the path, inviting a slow, deep release of the day's lingering thoughts into the vast, soothing, and restful calm of the quiet night. As twilight deepens along the still banks of the waterway, the evening air carries a quiet stillness that seems to suspend time itself. The narrowboat glides towards another lock, its hull barely breaking the glassy reflection of the darkening sky. Here, the engineering of an earlier age reveals itself not through loud machinery, but through an enduring, handcrafted precision designed to work in harmony with water and gravity. In 1783, along the Irwash Canal, stonecutters hand-carved the vertical hollow quoins of each lock chamber from dense Derbyshire sandstone, polishing the concave stone curves so smoothly that massive oak heel posts rotated within them with a barely audible rustle. These masons worked by hand with chisel and stone, ensuring that every curve fit seamlessly against the wooden post it was built to embrace. The stone, dark and heavy from the local quarries, absorbed the moisture of the river valley, creating a cool, damp microclimate where water droplets continuously trickling down the masonry shimmered in the fading twilight. Each stroke of the chisel had smoothed away any coarseness, turning hard rock into a fluid receiver for the timber. As the boat glides closer, the quiet hush of the surrounding fields blends with the gentle lapping of water against the lock wall, creating a soothing rhythm that invites restful contemplation. Beneath the surface of the quiet water, where the base of the gate meets the floor of the lock, lies a quiet marvel of 18th century mechanics. The design relied simplicity and natural lubricants, ensuring that even the heaviest components could be moved with minimal effort by a single keeper tending the passage. In 18th century lock construction, the massive oak heel post of each gate pivoted inside a cast iron cup, lubricated with sheep tallow, enabling a 2-ton gate to swing open with only the light, silent push of a keeper's hand. This thick, rendered tallow protected the iron from corrosion, while providing a smooth, durable barrier against the grinding friction of stone and metal. As the keeper leans gently against the balance beam, there is no sound of straining iron or creaking wood, only the effortless arc of the timber parting the still water. The sheer weight of the oak, dense and seasoned over years of exposure, seems to melt away as it glides across the water's surface. It is a motion so calm and unhurried that it feels almost weightless, a silent ballet performed hundreds of times over the decades, echoing the quiet persistence of the canal itself. The water within the chamber begins its slow, gentle rise, lifting the vessel inch by inch without a jar or tremor. The surrounding landscape sleeps beneath a blanket of dusk, where ancient trees lean low over the towing path, and the gentle fragrance of damp earth fills the evening breeze. Every detail of the lock, from the hand-hewn sandstone blocks to the tallow-smoothed iron, reflects a patient craftsmanship intended to endure for generations. There is a deep, reassuring comfort in watching such immense forces water, stone, heavy timber, and iron interact with such soft grace and effortless quiet. As the upper gates open smoothly to reveal the long, calm stretch of the canal ahead, the boat drifts forward into the gathering night, carried on a calm current of peaceful solitude. The narrowboat glides into the quiet shadow of the stone lock chamber, its movement barely disturbing the still mirror of the dark water. High walls of weathered ashlar rise on either side, slick with velvet moss and damp from generations of passing craft. The evening air is cool and soft, carrying only the gentle murmur of water trickling through the tiny gaps of the timber paddles above. Along the towpath, the draft horses rest their heavy heads in the quiet twilight, their breathing slow and steady against the faint rustle of evening reed beds. Here inside the stone chamber, the gentle descent pauses for just a moment, holding the boat in a warm, cocooned tranquility as the lock keeper works with quiet, deliberate movements across the balance beams. The rhythm of the canal is ancient and unhurried, measured not by hours or bells, but by the slow, rhythmic rise and fall of water trapped between stone walls. Outside the lock gates, the surrounding countryside softens into shades of slate and indigo, while down within the stone walls, every sound is cushioned by the liquid dark. Beneath the dark surface of the pool, submerged deeply away from the fading sky, lies the silent woodwork that holds the weight of the canal. In 18th century British lock construction, master carpenters crafted underwater gate sills from green English elm, a timber that swells underwater into a resilient, velvet-smooth face that silenced the resting gates as they closed. Resting submerged month after month, this remarkable wood did not decay or weaken. Instead, the constant soak of the canal softened its dense grain, transforming the wooden ledge into a yielding cushion that met the massive oak mitre posts without a sharp thud or grating scrape. When the massive gates swung shut in the gloom, their heavy wooden heels found this underwater sill with a muffled, almost imperceptible kiss. The craftsmanship of those forgotten carpenters remains hidden beneath the water, working in perpetual darkness to shield the masonry and bring a gentle hush to every locking. It is a quiet testament to an age when human hands built for durability and soft harmony, choosing natural materials that grew kinder and quieter the longer they remained submerged in the cool earth. As the heavy timber gate nestles firmly against the swollen elm below, the water level inside the chamber settles into a perfect, unbroken calm. The boat floats motionless, cradled between ancient stones and submerged timber that have borne thousands of quiet journeys before this one. Above, the first faint stars of evening begin to flicker through the twilight canopy of surrounding leaves, their soft light reflecting in the slow eddies near the balance beams. A subtle fragrance of wet timber, sweet river moss, and cool night air fills the chamber, inviting a deep, restful breath. The soft creaking of the hemp mooring lines eases into complete silence as the vessel finds its equilibrium. Each gentle ripple against the hull lulls the mind into quiet stillness. Wrapped in the soft darkness of the lock and guarded by the timeless woodwork below, there is no need for haste, only the peaceful, effortless drift into sleep as the night settles over the quiet waterways. As dusk slowly settles over the serene borderlands, the canal bends gracefully into a quiet twilight mirror, reflecting the soft, fading amber light of the late afternoon sky. The narrowboat glides almost effortlessly through the still water, its dark timber hull whispering softly against the gentle ripples that spread in calm, rhythmic curves toward the grassy towpath. The cool evening air carries the rich, earthy aroma of damp foliage, crushed clover, and wet river stone, wrapping the surrounding valley in a peaceful blanket of calm that gently slows the passage of time. Nearby, the grand stonework of the historic waterway rises silently against the darkening sky, guiding the quiet vessel toward the gradual approach of another lock. Here, surrounded by ancient, leafy trees, whose mossy branches dip gracefully into the slow-moving current, the world grows wonderfully quiet, save for the soothing trickling of water passing through distant paddle sluices. Every subtle sway of the boat invites a deep, relaxing breath, easing the thoughts of the day into a tranquil stillness that matches the steady, unhurried pace of the surrounding countryside. Moving closer to the lock chamber, one can admire the thoughtful craft and engineering mastery embedded within these historic structures. In 1796, at Chirk aqueduct locks along the Ellesmere Canal, engineer Thomas Telford bedded the lock gate thresholds on thick sheets of lead laid over ashlar masonry, creating a soft, waterproof seal that cushioned the oak gates as they swung gently closed. The heavy timber arms drift inward with a smooth, cushioned ease, coming to rest against the lead-lined sill without a harsh shudder or disruptive clatter. As the massive wooden doors seal securely together against the quiet pressure of the river, water begins to trickle steadily into the chamber with a rhythmic, murmuring splash. The soft lead bedding absorbs the quiet impact of the heavy wood, allowing the structure to endure decades of constant water movement while maintaining a subtle, yieldingly tight fit. Standing on the narrowboat's timber deck, watching the water level rise or fall in infinitesimal degrees, one feels the remarkable harmony between heavy dressed stone, pliable metal, and aged oak, all working in quiet unison to cradle the vessel on its journey down the calm valley. Within the sheltered embrace of the lock walls, the atmosphere becomes intensely quiet, warm, and cozy. Moss and delicate ferns cling to the damp mortar joints of the stone lining, glistening softly under the gentle light of the rising moon as droplets of water slowly cascade down the smooth masonry faces. The gentle rocking of the boat eases into a soothing, steady lullaby, perfectly attuned to the soft hiss of water, equalizing on either side of the threshold. As the water levels finally find their silent balance, the upper gate gives way with effortless grace, parting the smooth surface ahead like a velvet curtain opening into the evening stillness. The narrowboat glides forward once more into the calm reach beyond, drifting under a vast blanket of stars into the tranquil darkness, carrying with it the quiet legacy of fine craftsmanship, the deep comfort of silent waters, and the timeless solace of the resting canal. As twilight deepens into the quiet embrace of night, the narrow barge glides with a slow, effortless grace along the Scottish waterway. The air carries the damp, fresh scent of moss and evening rain, rising softly from the grassy embankments that line the navigation. Here, far from the busy paved streets of distant towns, the channel rests in complete serenity, reflecting the faint amber glow of the oil lantern suspended at the bow. Up ahead, where the canal curves gently toward the monumental structure of the Kelvin Aqueduct, the water lies so still it resembles polished dark glass. The gentle lap of small ripples against the oak hull creates a comforting rhythm, steady and unbroken, carrying the traveler toward the stone chamber of the lock. Every movement of the vessel feels suspended in time, held gently between the quiet countryside and the engineering marvels built by patient hands in the late 18th century. The surrounding hills rest dark against the twilight sky, while the soft rustle of wind through the reed beds along the shore offers a calming lullaby to all who pass through this silent valley. Stepping closer to the lock edge, one can admire the remarkable craft embedded within every timber and stone. Near Scotland's Kelvin Aqueduct locks, completed in 1790, builders weighted the long oak balance beams with iron boxes filled with rounded river gravel, balancing the timber gates so precisely that they drifted shut as effortlessly as a gentle tide. These sturdy balance beams, fashioned from dense oak logs planed by hand to a smooth sheen, extend far over the towpath like long, resting arms. Inside the iron containers mounted at their ends, thousands of small, smooth pebbles harvested from nearby riverbeds over centuries of flowing water provide the exact counterweight needed to offset the mass of the wet timber below. When the lock keeper steps forward, no strenuous effort is required. A single, deliberate push sends the heavy gate swinging through its arc with the quiet ease of a pendulum in motion. The timber moves smoothly through the dark water, displacing light foam that whispers against the stonework before coming to rest tightly against the wooden sill. It is a harmonious equilibrium of stone, iron, oak, and water, serving the gentle flow of trade without disturbing the peace of the countryside. Within the stone basin of the lock chamber, the water level begins its gradual descent, settling slowly toward the lower reach of the canal. Water leaks in thin, musical ribbons through the joinery of the lock gates, trickling down the mossy face of the dressed sandstone walls with a sound as soothing as a soft summer rain. As the boat lowers within the shadowy sanctuary of the lock, the high walls shield the deck from the night breeze, wrapping the vessel in profound stillness. Above, stars emerge through clearing clouds, their silver light catching the swirling eddies that drift across the surface of the pool. There is no haste in this place, only the patient laws of nature working in unison with human craftsmanship. Soon, the lower gates drift open just as smoothly as the upper ones did, revealing the dark ribbon of water stretching out into the valley beyond. The boat glides forward into the calm expanse of night, cradled by the gentle current, as the restful silence of the canal enfolds everything in peace. As twilight softly gathers along the winding waterway, the wooden canal boat glides into the quiet sanctuary of another ancient lock chamber. The evening air is cool, and stillness settles over the landscape, carrying the faint scent of damp moss, sweet clover, and the soft, rhythmic lap of water against the hull. The towpath slumbers under a gentle canopy of weeping willows, where the tired footfalls of the horse have slowed to a steady tread. Within the stone chamber, time seems to widen into an easy rest. The warm glow of a cabin lantern dances across the dark, glassy surface of the water, reflecting the calm sky above. Here, sheltered between high earthen banks and weathered masonry, every movement is light and unhurried, inviting the mind to quiet its thoughts and drift along with the tranquil, timeless rhythm of the 18th century canal. Behind the resting vessel, the massive oak gates swing shut, meeting with a deep, muffled thud that echoes softly through the narrowing space. The heavy oak gates of 18th century locks were angled into a soft V shape called a mitre sill, using the quiet hydrostatic weight of 7 feet of water to press the timber edges into a perfectly silent, leak-free seal. As the immense volume of the upper pond presses against the timber barriers, the natural weight of the water itself holds the gates firmly closed, turning a monumental engineering task into an elegant dance of gravity and liquid balance. The dense oak absorbs the moisture of the canal, swelling slightly to complete the seal, while delicate trickles of water murmur musically against the wood like a comforting lullaby. Safe within this enclosed basin, the boat rests in complete stillness, suspended gently between the upper reach and the calm waters waiting below. Slowly, with the smooth turn of a wooden windlass, the ground paddles are raised, letting the trapped water begin its quiet release. As the water level gradually subsides, the boat begins its peaceful, almost imperceptible journey downward into the cool, shaded depth of the lock chamber. Along the Basingstoke Canal, finished in 1794, masons built lock chamber walls with sloped brickwork topped by smooth bullnose coping bricks, allowing soft canvas fenders to roll effortlessly down the wet masonry as the vessel descended. The rounded brick edges protect both the hull and stonework, guiding the woven fenders with a soft, brushing sound that soothes the senses. Course by course, the damp brickwork reveals its aged texture, lined with patches of bright green moss and glistening with cool droplets of moisture. The surrounding walls rise gently into the twilight, muffling the distant sounds of the countryside and creating an intimate haven of shadow and quiet. At last, the water levels equalize, bringing the boat to rest in perfect alignment with the lower channel ahead. The forward gates yield to the push of a long wooden balance beam, swinging open without a sound into the dark mirror of the open canal. The vessel glides forward into the cool night air, leaving the lock chamber behind to rest in quiet solitude. Out on the open water, stars begin to emerge one by one, their pale light flickering softly on the rippling surface. The gentle sway of the boat continues its soothing cadence, cradling the traveler into a deep, uninterrupted slumber as the canal leads peacefully toward the distant horizon. As twilight deepens over the French countryside, the canal vessel glides with silent grace into the stone chamber of another lock along the tranquil waters. The evening air grows crisp and still, carrying only the faintest whisper of movement from the surrounding poplars and the slow, rhythmic lap of water against the wooden hull. Here, where the engineering of the late 18th century meets the quiet rhythm of rural life, every motion feels intentional, measured, and unhurried. The lockkeeper steps out from a small masonry cottage, his handheld lantern casting a soft, golden glow across the wet ashlar stones of the lock wall. Moving with practiced calm, he approaches the massive timber gates, which sit tightly wedged against the stone sill to hold back the vast, dormant body of the canal's upper reach. The atmosphere is steeped in a profound hush, an inviting stillness that eases the weary mind into rest as the boat drifts to a gentle halt beside the mossy stone walls. The glass-like surface of the water reflects the first emerging stars of the night, dark and polished like obsidian, while the long towpath stretches away into the soft, comforting dimness of dusk. To adjust the water level within the chamber, the keeper reaches for the iron crank attached to the sluice mechanism mounted upon the gate. On the Canal du Centre, completed in France in 1792, engineer Emilind Gothy lubricated the wrought iron rack and pinion sluice gears with a warm mixture of beeswax and lard, enabling keepers to raise heavy iron paddles with a silent, effortless glide. The mechanism responds without a single harsh screech or metallic groan, turning as smoothly as silk beneath the keeper's patient hand. As the heavy iron paddle lifts within its vertical groove, a soft, subterranean murmur arises from the depths below. Water begins to flow smoothly through the submerged culverts, filling the chamber and raising the vessel slowly and steadily upward. There is no sudden turbulence or jar, only a gradual, comforting lift that mirrors the deep, steady breathing of a sleeping world. The scent of sweet beeswax and rendered oils lingers faintly in the cool air, blending harmoniously with the earthy fragrance of damp stone and wild river mint growing along the masonry edge. With each passing minute, the boat rises steadily toward the calm level of the upper channel, supported by the immense and tranquil power of the contained waters. The soft, rhythmic creak of hemp mooring lines securing the vessel to the iron bollards provides a reassuring cadence in the quiet darkness. Above, the late evening sky fades into a rich indigo hue, framed by the hand-hewn stone parapets of the lock structure and the dark, elegant silhouettes of ancient trees standing guard along the bank. The lockkeeper pauses, watching the water equalize with quiet satisfaction before moving toward the wooden balance beams of the forward gates. Soon, the heavy oak doors will push open with that same quiet, friction-free grace, inviting the vessel to resume its peaceful drift along the sleeping waterway under a canopy of stars. Every element of this historic passage, from the ingeniously formulated lubricants on the gears to the unhurried motion of the rising tide, works in quiet harmony to lull the spirit into a state of restful, undisturbed calm. The evening air carries a crisp, grounding scent of damp earth and elderflower as your wooden narrowboat drifts slowly through the serene countryside of late 18th century England. Along the narrow, mirror-like ribbon of dark water, the gentle ripple departing the bow is the only sound interrupting the profound stillness of the surrounding pastures and slumbering hills. Tall willows bow their leafy branches over the grassy towpath, their slender foliage rustling lazily in the cool night breeze, while soft mist gathers in the hollows. the sturdy wooden hull glides with effortless grace, cradled by the calm depth that carries you toward the next stone lock chamber ahead. Emerging from the twilight gloom, the heavy masonry walls stand tall and enduring, bathed in the pale silver glow of the rising moon. As the boat glides across the threshold into the lock, the heavy oak gates behind you swing gently shut with a deep, muffled thud, settling into position and sealing the chamber into a sheltered sanctuary of absolute stillness, where time itself seems to slow to a quiet whisper. Within this darkened stone cradle, there is none of the violent cascading or noisy, turbulent rushing that so often accompanies the filling of older, conventional lock systems. Instead, a remarkable and thoughtful engineering innovation works silently beneath the surface to preserve the tranquility of the nocturnal voyage. In 1796, on the Rochdale Canal, engineer William Jessup built subterranean filling culverts lined with smooth dressed stone that released water into the very floor of lock chambers, quietly lifting boats from underneath without any splashing. Deep below the waterline, hidden conduits direct the incoming volume so smoothly that the liquid enters like a deep, unseen breath. Rather than tumbling through surface paddles in white foam and agitation, the water rises from below in a steady, unbroken swell, keeping the surface as smooth as polished glass. The vessel begins its upward journey so imperceptibly that you feel only a subtle, reassuring lift beneath the timber floorboards, a quiet lifting force born of masterfully shaped masonry and fluid harmony. Inch by inch, the vessel ascends on this hidden cushion of water, supported with unwavering, steady care. Looking up at the lock walls, the dark courses of laid stone slip slowly downward as the boat rises, bringing the surrounding countryside back into view. The damp scent of wet lime mortar and cool river stone blends with the nighttime fragrance of sweet grass from the adjacent fields. Farther down the towpath, an old stone bridge rests quietly under the starlight, its arch reflected perfectly in the motionless waters ahead. Every element of the mechanism reflects a quiet respect for the landscape, allowing human passage to move in harmony with the natural rhythms of the countryside. As the water level reaches complete equilibrium with the upper canal reach, the high surface settles into an unbroken hush. The heavy balance beams of the forward gates yield easily to the soft pressure of the water, opening a wide, welcoming portal into the starlit waterway beyond. The lantern at the bow casts a soft, amber warmth across the calm surface, guiding the vessel as it glides smoothly out of the chamber into the silent night. Supported by the tranquil depth and the peaceful cadence of the historic canal, your mind settles into a deep, restful calm, drifting effortlessly along the quiet waterway. As twilight deepens along the winding towpaths, the narrowboat glides into the still chamber of the lock, its timber hull brushing softly against the moss-draped stone walls. the surrounding countryside grows quiet, wrapped in the cool, blue hush of late evening, where only the faint rustle of reeds and the distant call of a night bird break the stillness. Here, the art of 18th century navigation reveals its most gentle innovations, designed not for haste, but for a smooth and effortless passage across the countryside. Along the Staffordshire and Worcestershire Canal, designed in 1772, engineers installed side ponds, shallow brick-lined basins that quietly drew off half a loch's water through subterranean culverts, letting vessels lower with a calm, imperceptible drop. As the water retreats into these adjacent reservoirs, the boat descends almost invisibly, held steady by the quiet balance of gravity and water. The brickwork of the side ponds, hidden beneath soft layers of turf and wild clover, acts as a silent reservoir, storing the canal's precious liquid while softening the motion of the vessel. Passengers on board feel only a slight, soothing shift in weight, as though the earth itself were gently exhaling beneath the hull, inviting a deep sense of rest and stillness. Beyond the chamber walls, the night air carries the faint, earthy scent of damp mortar, oak timber, and rich river silt. The boatman moves with deliberate, unhurried steps along the narrow coping stones, his hand resting lightly upon the weathered iron winding gear. There is no urgency in his movements, only a deep familiarity with the slow rhythm of the water and the quiet machinery of the loch. In the 1770s, on the Birmingham Canal, boatmen opened lower sluice gates, called ground paddles, just a few inches, creating a low, resonant water hum that gently equalized water levels over a peaceful 8-minute descent. This steady, low-frequency murmur echoes softly against the masonry, sounding like a calm lullaby sung by the river itself. The gradual rushing of water through the subsurface culverts creates a soothing visual pattern of tiny, swirling eddies that drift away into the darker stretch of canal downstream. With each passing minute of the descent, the heavy wooden lock gates settle further into their stone recesses, sealing out the slight ripples of the open canal and creating a sanctuary of complete tranquil stillness within the chamber walls. Now settled fully into the lower reach, the vessel rests upon calm, dark waters that mirror the first soft stars emerging through the evening haze. The high stone walls of the loch chamber reach upward toward the twilight sky, cradling the boat in a cool, protected sanctuary of shadow and quiet. The boatman gently leans his weight against the long oak balance beam, allowing the massive timber gates to swing outward with a smooth, silent movement. They open onto a wide, glassy expanse of water that stretches silently forward into the sleepy landscape ahead. As the narrowboat glides out from the shadow of the loch, the faint, gentle ripples from its stern dissolve softly into the grassy banks, leaving the channel behind as unruffled as a quiet pond. The slow, rhythmic cadence of 18th century canal travel continues to soothe every breath, carrying the mind toward a peaceful night of unbroken sleep, wrapped in the timeless hush of the surrounding countryside. As dusk settles softly over the quiet expanse of the waterway, the narrow vessel rests gently within the calm shadow of the stone lock masonry. The surrounding countryside falls into a deep, meditative hush, where the rustle of evening reeds along the bank meets the muted stillness of the open canal. Here, the slow pace of 18th century travel invites a deep sense of unhurried ease, where time is measured only by the steady dip of a wooden tiller and the soft, rhythmic breathing of the draft horse resting on the grassy towpath. The cool air carries the earthy fragrance of mossy brickwork, damp timber, and wet leaves, while the surface of the canal reflects the slow transition from golden twilight to dusty violet. Along the towpath, old oak trees bend their leafy canopy toward the water, casting long, peaceful shadows across the gentle ripples created by the vessel's quiet arrival. Every motion along the canal is deliberate and tranquil, allowing the mind to settle into the restful cadence of the journey, far removed from the bustling activity of daytime towns. The lock chamber itself, built with heavy oak gates and thick stone walls, feels like a sanctuary of stillness, holding back the weight of the river with timeless strength and understated elegance. As the water level within the upper pound reaches its perfect equilibrium, the thoughtful craftsmanship of the canal's builders reveals itself in the surrounding masonry to prevent the swelling canal from surging over the heavy wooden beams. Ingenious bypass channels were designed to divert the excess current gracefully. In 1777, on the Chesterfield Canal, engineers constructed circular overflow spillways called tumblebays lined with smooth, dressed sandstone, carrying surplus water around closed lock gates in a continuous spiral cascade that created a soothing, low white noise. The smooth, hand-carved stone allowed the water to glide without turbulence, swirling downward in a graceful vortex that softened the water's descent into the lower channel. Rather than splashing harshly against the bank, the fluid movement followed the gentle curve of the spiral structure, channeling the natural power of the river into a harmonious, continuous acoustic hum. This gentle water feature served both a practical engineering purpose and an aesthetic one, maintaining a stable depth for navigation while enriching the night air with an unbroken, hypnotic whisper that softened all surrounding sounds. Listening to that constant, delicate cadence of cascading water, one feels completely enveloped by the serene harmony of human ingenuity resting alongside nature. The soft white noise washes over the canal basin, wrapping the grounded boatmen in a state of quiet comfort as night fully claims the sky. A pale crescent moon rises above the tree line, illuminating the fine texture of the dressed sandstone and casting silver reflections upon the dark, calm water below. Securely moored against the timber bollards, The boat sways almost imperceptibly, rocking with the faint, comforting pulses of the passing current. Every element of the night, from the cool breeze rustling the nearby willow boughs to the steady, swirling descent of water within the tumble bay, invites a state of deep, undisturbed restfulness as the stars emerge across the clear velvet expanse of the night sky above. The gentle rhythm of the waterway lingers, guiding the mind into a tranquil, effortless slumber. The soft fall of dusk gives way to the deep, silent stillness of late night along the waterway. The barge glides into the stone basin of a loch, moving so gently through the dark water that the surface barely ripples against the sturdy oak sides of the vessel. Overhead, a cool canopy of stars glimmers through the thin mist rising from the slow-moving current. The gentle creak of heavy timber echoes softly off the high stone walls as the lock keeper steps forward in the lantern light, his movements unhurried and practiced over years of quiet night shifts. A gentle hush settles over the canal, where the main sound is the rhythmic, reassuring trickle of water leaking through the crevices of the massive wooden gates, marking the transition from one quiet level of the canal to the next. The surrounding fields lay dormant under the cool night sky, bathed in a silver luminescence that softens every edge of the landscape. In the tranquil darkness of the Scottish lowlands, the ritual of passage proceeds with a quiet, patient precision. During night transits through the Forth and Clyde Canal in the 1790s, lock keepers measured the quiet 8-minute filling of lock chambers using hand-blown glass sand glasses filled with fine white sea sand from the Firth of Forth. The lock keeper gently turns the small glass vessel, setting the tiny pale grains into motion, a muted countdown in harmony with the gentle rising of the water inside the stone chamber. As the sea sand falls silently from the upper globe to the lower, the sluice gates are slowly opened, allowing the deep current to flood into the basin without turbulence, lifting the heavy timber barge inch by inch toward the higher reach of the canal. There is no rush in this midnight work, only the soft, steady rhythm of natural forces held in balance by simple human craft and care. The pale sand trickles through the narrow waist of the glass, mirroring the steady influx of water that cradles the boat, ensuring that the vessel rises smoothly without disturbing the restful sleep of the surrounding countryside. As the last grain of fine white sand slips into the base of the glass, the water level within the chamber reaches its perfect equilibrium, with the calm canal reach ahead. The heavy wooden lock gates slowly part with a low, satisfying groan, revealing a long, mirror-like stretch of dark water, illuminated only by the faint glow of the stars and the solitary lantern hanging from the bow. The barge gently drifts onward, carried forward by a gentle pull and the subtle movement of the quiet water. The air is cool and crisp, carrying the refreshing scents of damp moss, reed beds, and distant estuary waters. Wrapped in thick, comfortable blankets, one can listen to the soft, rhythmic lap of water against the hull, feeling the tranquil pulse of an 18th century transport system that moves not with urgent haste, but with the peaceful, patient cadence of the tide. Here, under the wide expanse of the midnight sky, the journey continues smoothly onward into the quiet rest of the night. As night deepens over the peaceful waterways, the canal settles into a quiet, rhythmic stillness, where the slow, steady motion of the water seems to align with the calm breathing of the sleeping earth. The narrowboat glides almost effortlessly through the dark, glassy expanse, its seasoned timber hull barely parting the smooth, reflective surface that mirrors the soft, silver glow of the moon. All around, the countryside rests under a vast and quiet canopy of stars, with only the faint, rustling whisper of wind through the bankside reeds, occasionally disturbing the cool evening air. The journey has entered a deeply tranquil, meditative stretch, where time loses all its urgency, gently inviting a profound sense of stillness, comfort, and repose. Up ahead, the weathered stone masonry of a quiet lock house emerges softly from the evening shadows, its warm lantern light casting a steady, golden shimmer across the dark, tranquil water. Here, along these historic, shaded channels, every element of the canal's design reflects a harmonious balance between human craftsmanship and the serene, unhurried forces of the natural world. Near the edge of the lock chamber, the quiet vigilance of the night keeper maintains the delicate equilibrium of the canal system without interrupting the peaceful hush of the evening. In 1793, along the Grand Junction Canal, lock keepers monitored water levels at night using hollow copper floats resting inside quiet stone stilling wells, which softly raised a calibrated pine indicator stick without generating surface ripples. This simple yet remarkably effective apparatus allowed the keeper to verify the precise depth of the water at a mere glance, reading the fine, carved notches on the smooth wooden rod by the dim, golden beam of a handheld horn lantern without disturbing the mirror-like calm of the basin. The hollow metal sphere bobbed imperceptibly inside its sheltered masonry cylinder, completely isolated from any stray wind or surface turbulence, providing a steady and silent record of the channel's subtle rise and fall. Watching the pine indicator stick ascend with smooth, incremental grace offers a soothing reminder of silent order and patient craftsmanship, where even the measurement of water is conducted with complete, effortless stillness. The narrowboat glides onward through the open oak gates, passing softly between the ancient, moss-draped stone walls into the lower, unruffled reach of the canal. The water stretching ahead lies like a long, smooth ribbon of dark velvet, undisturbed save for the subtle, rhythmic ripples folding outward from the stern and slowly fading into the grassy banks. Down below deck, the gentle, familiar creaking of the timber frame and the soft, repetitive lap of water against the bow create a comforting lullaby that lulls the mind into complete, unburdened serenity. The cool air of the midnight hour carries the fresh, grounding scent of wet stone, damp earth, and dew-kissed willow leaves, wrapping the senses in a quiet blanket of security and peace. As the canal winds gently through the slumbering valley, every shadow softens, every sound fades into the calm distance, and the slow, rhythmic flow of the water carries you effortlessly toward a night of deep, undisturbed rest and quiet dreams. As the quiet shadows of evening lengthen across the slow-moving waters, a tranquil hush settles over the entire canal corridor. The vessel glides forward with a peaceful, weightless ease, guided only by the gentle lap of water against its wooden hull and the soft rustle of willow leaves along the quiet towpath. Entering the still enclosure of a stone-locked chamber during these dusky hours feels like stepping into a sanctuary preserved in time, far removed from the rush of the waking world outside. During quiet evening transits through the Canal du Midi in the late 18th century, lock keepers burned rapeseed oil lanterns that cast a warm golden glow over the stone masonry, while the vessel settled inches at a time. This mellow illumination bathed the hand-carved stone blocks in rich amber light, creating a comforting, hearth-like warmth amidst the cool night air. As the wooden sluice gates slowly released their hold, the water inside the chamber dropped with a steady, soothing rhythm, allowing the barge to descend so gradually that the physical motion was felt only as a soft, drifting sensation toward total rest. Across the wider water network in the rolling green valleys of England, a similar devotion to quiet craft and natural harmony transformed the hardworking lock landings into places of serene beauty. The keepers who tended these historic structures understood the comforting value of soft, living surfaces in an environment built largely of heavy timber and cold stone. In 1789, along the Cromford Canal, lock keepers planted sweet-smelling chamomile and low clover across the balance beam landings, creating soft, fragrant turf cushions that absorbed the quiet rest of timber beams at the end of each swing. As the massive wooden arms of the lock gates swung open or shut to seal the water chamber, their broad ends rested gently upon these lush green carpets rather than striking bare earth or hard gravel. Each slow movement gently pressed the aromatic leaves beneath, releasing a subtle wave of sweet chamomile and fresh clover sent into the cool evening air, filling the surrounding space with a soothing fragrance that lingered long after the gates came to rest. In the deep, uninterrupted calm of the late evening, the harmonious interplay of these timeless details creates a profound sense of comfort and ease for anyone traveling along the silent water. The warm lantern light reflecting off damp masonry, the gentle aroma of sweet turf rising on the evening breeze, and the slow, measured settling of the vessel all gather together into a single, rhythmic lullaby. The canal becomes far more than just a historic passage through the sleeping countryside. It becomes an enduring place of absolute stillness, where every surface, sound, and subtle scent is perfectly aligned to foster quiet reflection and deep relaxation. Floating peacefully within the protective embrace of the stone walls, listening to the soft drip of water, and feeling the gentle, rhythmic rocking of the wooden deck, one is carried effortlessly into a state of complete surrender, ready for the quiet, restorative sleep that awaits as the journey draws toward its close. As the slow-moving canal barge settles into its final mooring for the evening, the deep, tranquil quiet of the English countryside wraps around the narrow vessel like a soft woolen blanket. The gentle murmur of water leaking through the ancient oak lock gates subsides into a faint, rhythmic trickle, eventually yielding to total silence as the pressure inside the masonry chamber equalizes. High above, the night sky opens into a vast canopy of steady stars, their pale light filtering down through the leafy branches of overhanging ash and willow trees that border the quiet towpath. The cool night air carries the soothing scent of damp earth, sweet meadow grass, and wet stone, anchoring the mind in the peaceful stillness of the water. Inside the cabin, the soft glow of a small lantern casts long, gentle shadows across polished timber panels, while the slow, subtle rocking of the hull gradually gives way to complete, motionless equilibrium upon the dark surface. Every gentle sound of the day, the soft clatter of iron fittings, the low call of waterfowl along the reeds, and the rhythmic plodding of heavy draft horses along the beaten earth path has quieted now, fading into the peaceful distance of memory as night claims the countryside. Near the edge of the lock basin, a curious and charming structure stands guard against the midnight chill, offering a sense of enduring shelter and warmth to all who pass along the historic waterway. Along the Thames and Severn Canal, completed in 1789, engineers built round lock-keepers' cottages with 3-foot-thick stone walls and conical slate roofs, keeping the interiors silent and warm, while glass windows reflected the motionless night water. The unique circular architecture, thoughtfully designed to maximize internal space and offer clear views down the canal reach, creates a cozy sanctuary where drafty winds cannot take hold. Behind the small glass panes, a warm hearth burns down to soft embers, throwing a gentle amber hue across the dark, mirror-like surface of the lock. The massive stone walls absorb the deep quietness of the surrounding valley, muting even the faint sigh of the evening breeze through the tall bankside rushes. Looking upon this round stone cottage, nestled so snugly beside the tranquil water, brings a profound feeling of safety and protection, reminding us of the steady hands and careful engineering that shaped these calm, timeless passages across the countryside long ago. With the journey now complete, the vessel rests securely in the lap of the water, cradled by centuries of quiet craftsmanship and the soothing rhythm of the canal system. The water beneath the wooden keel is smooth and dark, reflecting the faint silhouette of the cottage's conical slate roof and the steady constellations floating in the night sky. There is no urgency here, no rushing current to push against the timber sides, only the quiet transition into total rest and stillness. As the last lingering warmth from the cabin stove radiates gently through the room, your breathing slows to match the deep, unhurried cadence of the sleeping landscape outside. The world has grown soft, serene, and still, inviting every lingering thought to settle into quiet ease, floating peacefully on the calm, darkened waters of the loch. Soft shadows stretch lazily across the cabin's ceiling as the night deepens into undisturbed quiet, guiding you gently into a restful, dreamless sleep.